Hello and welcome to munCast. On this episode, I'm joined by Atif Ahmad. Atif was recognized as a Best Delegate All Star for the 2014-2015 Model UN season. He is known for being a competitive success as well as a genuine guy and a decent person who helps build friendships both inside and outside of committee. Atif will be graduating from Rutgers University in May and recently finished his competitive Model UN career. On this episode, we discuss what it's like for Atif to be at the end of his journey and the importance of the friendships he's developed along the way. I'm your host, Aaron, and this is munCast. Hey there, man.
Hey,
Atif.
what's up, Aaron?
Not much, man. I'm just chilling right now, sipping on some coffee, getting
That's cool.
nice and relaxed. How are you doing right now? Because I'm very interested in how you are actually feeling right now, man. What is going on?
Well, it's kind of the end of a lot of things, college, Model UN. I just had my last conference. It was actually just got out of committee exactly a week ago around this time. So feels a little weird. Don't know exactly how to say it, but it also feels kind of momentous to be done with Model UN. So yeah, feeling great in general. Very grateful for everything that's happened. So yeah, in general, feeling very great.
Feeling very great. So let me get this straight. So for other people listening, they can understand the context and sort of visualize what's going on. So you're a senior. You're in your last year of university, and you just finished your last Model UN competition, but you haven't finished your finals. Is that correct?
That is very correct, yes.
So you're in that sweet spot of having all of the dread of looking forward to the craziness of the finals and all of the, all of the memories of MUN, just all the nostalgia just going over you.
Oh yeah, that's absolutely true. I sort of am not sure how to tackle it right now. Just sort of like pushing it back for now. Just trying to just think of all the good stuff and everything that happened. But yeah, it is a sweet spot between sort of the craziness that's about to unfold in exactly a week when finals start. So that's going to be fun to deal with. But hey, last finals, this is undergrad, last Model UN, a lot of lasts. It's been a pretty crazy 4 years.
Jeez, and obviously, I would love to talk about your finals in more depth, but I'm more interested in the Model UN side.
Of course.
And I want to ask you about this, like. And maybe you don't even know the answer to this because it's only been about a week, but what does it feel like to be done with your last Model UN competition, assumingly ever?
Well, it's a lot to take in, and I can't. You're right. I don't know exactly how to put it, but it's been a long time since when my first conference in a cold January day in Montreal for McMahon, which was in the negatives, the temperature wise, and finishing it in a beautiful, glorious day in Chicago, and about like 20 conferences in between, competing and staffing and all that stuff. It truly feels like a big thing is over in my life, and big thing where I had such great times, meeting with people like you and so many other people in the circuit, performing in committee, putting 110% in all the time, and the skills remain. The skills definitely remain in what you do. So it's just a lot to take in this time, and I'm just thinking of all the good stuff. Obviously not every experience was the best. A lot of things, that we all had to take care of, we didn't like doing and stuff. But no, I'm just remembering all the good stuff that happened at this time. So yeah.
Yeah. So you said so much, and I want to highlight a lot of it. But I want to start off with this concept of saying that your Model UN journey had its ups and its downs, which I just want to touch on briefly and say I'm glad you mentioned that because. There's a lot of good things that come out of being a part of the Model UN community. But I mean, you'll have your off days or your off conferences or, even your problem with like within your team.
Of course.
And that's just like natural of any Model UN individual who's pushing themselves and pushing the community in a different direction. But what I really want to focus on for right now is I love how you mentioned your Model UN career started during the cold day in Montreal, Canada,
Mm-hmm.
and then
Mm-hmm.
it ended on a glorious day in Chicago, show month.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
can you take us back to the beginning of your journey and sort of give us an idea of how you got involved with Model UN?
Sure. So the beginning, I started in October of 2012. One of my friends, before, to give some context to this, I went to high school and all my education in my life in Bangladesh before I came here for my college education. So I had no idea what Model United Nations was back in the day. Now it's getting bigger, but back in my day, they didn't have Model UN there. So it was freshman year. It was October, and my friends were telling me about this trip they were going to go to Yale and DC, and I said, "Well, that sounds pretty cool. How do I get in on that?" And they said, "Well, come to a meeting of the Model UN Club today." I said, "Model UN? Okay." So I went there. It was pretty cool. We just did some public speaking exercises. I decided to try it for McMahon. I'll be honest. At that time, I sort of our club wasn't the best organized. I'll put it that way.
Sure.
We got much better at it, but at that time I sort of had no idea what I was going to just sign up for. I just heard, oh, it's really cool. You meet some awesome people. You get to debate, global topics. You get a party. You get to have a lot of fun. So it all sounded like, my head delegate, who's a big mentor of mine, Dan. He sold it really well. So I said, okay, sure, I'll sign up for it. But the moment that really stuck, through with me, I will say, was the pre-opening ceremony time and the post-opening ceremonies in McMahon. That's when I really stuck me. I was just standing there. There were so many people, all excited and all buzzing, and I just introduced myself, talked to people. The community was so awesome, and after the opening ceremonies, the GAs went to the bars for sort of like a happy hour thingy where we just talked to people from our committee. And I was very lucky that I met with I was in this table. There were 8 of us, some amazing people who just told me, and it was my first conference. So I told them, hey, it's my first conference, and they're very nice. They said, oh, we've been doing this. Stick around. It's excellent.
Mm-hmm.
And while it was my first committee, I wasn't doing any impactful stuff as I did later on. But I was just hearing people speak, and I spoke like 5 or 6 times during the course of the weekend. Wasn't part of any resolutions or anything, but it just the force of meeting the people, honestly, that's what kept me through the 4 years that I did from January of 2013 to my first conference to April of 2016 to my last conference. So I would say that the strength of the community, staying and being involved in committee, those 2 things were what fueled me, that I love doing. And I if I'm involved anywhere or whatever model, in which I doubt I will be, I would just I just would tell other people is just be a part of the community. That's
okay.
Just make friends. So that's what kept me going, honestly, to be absolutely honest.
Being part of the community. Well, I love that. I love that because you covered so many interesting points. And there's so many little conversations we could jump into if we had the time to explore every single aspect. But I want to focus on this really quick, is the thing that you mentioned. So first of all, you didn't start Model UN until you got to university because you didn't have that as an outlet in high school.
Correct.
During your first conference, before you got used to to what Model UN was, before you got over the learning curve, so to speak, you weren't necessarily a delegate that was in control of the entire room or trying to dominate conversation or.
Oh no, far from it. I just soaked it in.
Yeah, explain that. What do you mean by that? I'm curious.
Yeah, so the first thing that I would say is stoking. So the first committee I was in was SOCUM, and the topics, there were 3 topics I remember. One was women in politics. The second one was censorship. I forget the third right now, but there were 3 very, very topical things in my opinion. So I went in, I written this nice position paper, and I just just saw people motion, and I had no idea what emotion was at that time.
Right.
I had no idea what a speakers list was, but I thought, hey, you know what? I'll just raise my placard and just be on this whatever you call it speaker list. So I was on the speakers list, and I was Iran at that time actually.
Oh, wow.
Um,
What a great country to be for your first Model UN conference.
oh yeah, and for censorship, so that was also
Yeah.
fantastic, which was the first topic.
Yeah, yeah.
And now that I look back, we had an unusually long speakers list. I think we had like about 25 speakers list because a bunch of motions failed. Chair wanted more speaking time, so I went up to speak, and my mic didn't work. And it was my first speech, and there 300 people, and I
Yeah.
just spoke. But once I got rid of that, once I spoke at once, I just started listening to what people said. And I think that's
Yeah.
the most important thing, I just tried to soak in was, what is Comoros trying to say? What is Trinidad and Tobago trying to say? What is Venezuela trying to say? I just listened and listened and listened and sort of got into it, and just and Unmod just talk to people. Honestly, I mean, obviously people weren't as open to talking at the time because it's the first Unmod of a GA. You want to solidify your block and all that stuff. I didn't get what was going on, but people were really nice. They said, oh, be a part of the block, and I was asking questions. Most important thing, I was asking questions. That what is this, what is that? And people sort of gave me an idea, and they said, hey, you work with our block, and they said all that other jazz. But soaking it in, I would say, is that just listening to people and trying to get across what they were doing and trying to understand the motions of what was going on. I spoke with the chair. Chair was fantastic. He was really, really great guy. And the whole dais was really helping me out as much as they could because, they had to keep an eye out on the delegates too.
Right.
So I just tried to understand what was going on and just listen. That's what I tried to soak in, and just the time flew by, just funnily enough now that I think about it. But that was basically my first experience.
That was your first. Wow. And I love how you approach that with just this open mindset of listening and being a part of everyone. And what I want to ask before, because later on I want to get into you and your role that you play in the Model UN community. But I want to take a step back and try and get people to understand the journey you took, going from someone who never did Model UN in high school, someone who went to their first conference and was learning everything for the first time. And it's very fair to say now is one of the most well recognized individuals on the Model UN circuit today. And again, I don't mean that to boost your ego too much, but you're somebody who built a lot of communities, and what I want to ask is what made you stay with Model UN after that first conference? What is it? What is your why for staying with Model UN?
Well, there are multiple reasons for that. I can't say one specifically, but
that's okay.
I think that one thing was that my club people, the people running our club, while as I said, we weren't the best organized back in the day. He did a great job of selling it to me that, hey man, listen, you liked it, maybe you would like it here. We're going to HNMON, it's really big, you get to meet even more people. Again, I think that I sort of wanted to see how this activity is one by one, and I'll be honest, HNMON was sort of a letdown compared to MICMON. Committee wise, partner dynamic wise, more my fault than the conference's fault. But and I had that point where I started doubting that, okay, is this thing right for me? HNMON kind of sucked. My partner was kind of douche and all that stuff. But he was. But
we've all had one. We've all had at least.
We've all had one. Well, and also, some of the people I worked with weren't the friendliest. They weren't very nice to, whatever reason that is. But I felt that, I sort of gave it another shot. And as the conferences went by, I went to Chicago. And honestly, I sort of think that was the sort of the tipping point for me to stay with it, because I was in a smaller committee.
Yeah.
It was, I think, about 35, 36 of us together. And it wasn't a smaller committee where I sort of felt what I really wanted to feel. The people around me were excellent. It was a very competitive committee.
What year was this, by the way?
This is still my freshman year. Still my freshman. Yeah, this is 2013 April Choman. It was very, very competitive committee. Now that I look back, it was really difficult. But the people there, The vast majority of them were really nice. I had lunch with a couple of them. We talked. My good friend Nina, I was just telling her how my cousin knew one of Facebook's founders who went to Harvard. So she, they all took it really nice. They weren't like very condescending or very nasty. They're all very nice. I learned more of what a crisis committee was. So I think that committee sort of solidified to me that I sort of wanted to be a part of this. And I ran for an executive board position. I sort of, I think that, I wanted to be a part of the club, to be absolutely honest, as to why I stuck with it. The people I met were awesome. The topics I was learning, I took it as, something I was learning from. I learned about preemptive. There were a lot of in my background, in my first background guides, there's stuff about preemptive strikes and laws against it. I learned about the UNCAC, learned about the cabinets and all that stuff. So just wanting to learn, getting to know people, and wanting to be a part of the club is, why I stuck with it. And while it wasn't always, and we'll get into that probably later on, but it wasn't always smooth. But hey, it was worth it in the end, in my opinion.
Yeah. No, I agree with you, because I think for some people, they see Model UN or they see their friends doing it and they are hooked from the beginning. And then there are other people who do Model UN, they don't like it, it's just not for them, and that's okay too. And then there's some people who do Model UN and they don't necessarily realize it, but after their 10th conference, they realize, wow, no, I really like this thing. This is awesome. I want to be a part of the community. I want to give back and help, which are some of the things you're talking about from yourself. Just this openness to wanting to learn and be a part of the community, which is something I want to transition into and focus on, because you as an individual have been one of the most well-known delegates on the circuit over the past few years, and you built up this reputation for yourself very quickly, but also in a very genuine and authentic way that has made a lot of positive relationships between schools throughout the entire circuit. And so I want to start off by asking this question is, do you even know what you did in order to start building those relationships between schools? Because this is something fascinating that I think every single person, myself included, can learn from by just asking you this question. How do you start building relationships? Do you know how you did that?
Well, I think that, I consider myself more of a 60% GA delegate and a 40% crisis delegate. Okay. And, a big part of what, a GA delegate obviously has to do is blog building. Our job is to, work around with people. But what I did was that, I took blog building from just a Model UN standpoint to a sort of a friendship standpoint, like, whenever I would work with someone in a GA and, whatever, I wouldn't say that, oh, Ukraine, I would try to get their name. And I'd say, oh, Evan, oh, nice to meet you. Where do you go to school? Where are you from? Oh, I know, I'm from Jersey too. Oh yeah, I've been to this place and that place. So, that sort of thing, I always try to relate to someone and try to get, obviously when people are open to listening, is that, oh, hey, I know this person or something. And, obviously that took some time. But I remembered the people I worked with. I remember when I was in my first committee, I worked with these two delegates from Georgetown. And when I went to Chicago, I went to the Georgetown delegates and I said, "Hey, Pavan, do you guys know Felicia?" And they were like, "Oh yeah, we know Felicia. She's very nice." And how do you know her? And I sort of like kept it going. Added people on Facebook. Just hit them up for random stuff. Oh, hey, I'm in DC. You want to meet up? Oh, and some of them said, "Oh yeah, we're gonna be around the area. Just meet up outside, talk about stuff." I think talk about football, talk about IR. We love talking about IR. We love talking about what's going on in Syria and lots of other places. And that's sort of how I sort of started getting to know people better. And I sort of took blog building as sort of from a GA standpoint to more of like a life standpoint, that I know oh, you're from Florida, oh, you're from you're from Jersey, you're from Ohio, and you saw that you were there. We had a lunch in DC, over the summer when Eric
Yeah,
was there.
USA women's team, man.
Yeah, that was an awesome game. So part of the banter with Eric was that, oh, Ohio State, and well, Eric was like, well, we're undisputed champions, and I just did some banter from Rutgers and all that stuff. I just tried to relate to people
Yeah.
and just see what they were into,
Mhm.
and I think that obviously not everyone was a hit. There are a lot of people who thought, oh yeah, he's trying to be too friendly. Oh, he's trying to scheme me into his paper and whatnot. And
Right.
well, let's be honest here. We're all there to do well. We all know that. But I tried to take it from a sort of a give and take for a 4-day relationship to something possibly bigger. You have a friendship with someone for a long period of time through a conference you're going at. That's basically what I took out. And when you put a little bit of effort into that team building and intra-team fun and all that stuff, it grows. And I don't know how successful I've been or anything. I just know that I just talk to people, just try to relate, try to have a good time, and just try to keep the conversation going.
Yeah, yeah, I love I
Mhm.
love this relationship you're drawing between the short term 4-day relationships and the long term the year to year relationships, because uh, having been on the circuit as somebody from the class of 2015. You meet a lot of competitive delegates on the circuit who are extremely good at winning awards in Model UN, or
Mhm.
just being a good delegate and standing out in committee, but they seem to have this kind of, like what you said, this 4-day mentality where it's like, okay, we're done with committee, don't have to see this person ever again.
Yeah.
And it's they're just done. And what you're describing is more of this importance behind these long-term relationships. And
Mhm.
you were describing a delegate, or you're describing getting to know delegates. And
Mhm.
I one of these things I just jotted down was that it seems to me that to you, what's very important is knowing the person behind the delegate to build lasting relationships, as opposed to
Mhm.
just 4-day committee. I know your name, vote for my paper. Is that correct?
Mhm. Yes, absolutely. I definitely took that in because, we're talking about papers and all this stuff right now, but we don't know in, long term down the line what sort of, where this relationship can go from, say, from where I'm representing Iran and Rutgers to something. We don't know what that could be. So friendship now, we're all like-minded people. We have like-minded interests. Most of us, we care for a lot of the same things, and we're driven by Model UN. That by itself makes us similar when compared to so many other people in the planet and like in your universities. So I thought it's just a natural fit. So that's something that I just continued with. And I love talking to people and just meeting out of committee. It's almost like meeting athletes out of the out of the
Yeah,
field.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
You get yeah. And
yeah.
I think that's something that is really cool.
Mhm.
One of the co-founders of Best Delegate, Kevin Felix Chan,
Mhm.
describes Model UN as a sport for intelligent people, like a social sport,
Mhm.
where in at least the North American circuit, it is a competition, and it does feel like a competition between those who are going for awards. And so oftentimes you'll have this community of thousands of people that are involved in this one activity, Model UN, and
Mhm.
you'll hear these names of these people who are really good in committee. And the lovely thing about Model UN is you have the opportunity to just walk up to them during conferences
Mhm.
and say hello and become their
Mhm.
friends, or at least get to know them.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And getting to know them as people, I think, makes the relationship so much more lasting to some degree. In my committees, I usually, well, it wasn't always possible. I tried to be, in something I was really interested in, and a lot of the people were really interested in. We could have like talk about stuff that was outside the scope of committee. For example, in my Indian Premier League committee, there was this one person. His name's Krish. He's a really nice kid. So we didn't talk about a lot of like actual sports stuff in the committee.
Yeah.
We talked more of operations, which is still pretty cool. And at one time, over lunch, we just decided to hang out in the lobby because we didn't feel like getting food. So for like just 45 minutes, we just talked nonstop about how to do well in cricket, what his techniques were, what my techniques were, what we could learn from each other. And, I tried some of his techniques and I found them pretty good and I told him about it. So, there's just that thing that I'll remember about Krish telling me, about just holding the grip that way, and I telling him that since I'm a taller guy, hold the bat grip a little like that. But like, see those small things, it really doesn't, it's nothing like huge, but you just remember that little thing and just like builds a connection with you. You're like, you go from the delegate to the friend arena. It's like you cross an invisible wall to some degree, in my opinion.
Yeah, so it's almost like the way you're describing it is. Let's say you have a conference with 1,000 individuals from all around the North American circuit. Everyone is there, obviously, to do Model UN, whether they're competing or they're there for the socials or they're for the team bonding or just the traveling. Doesn't necessarily matter. Everyone's there, and everyone knows they're doing Model UN and that you have to vote on resolutions. But I love this. I love this idea because it's like getting to know the actual people. And understanding who they are, because everybody knows that they're doing Model UN at university, which might sound like a stupid statement to make. But I feel personally that I've met a lot of people who we go out to lunch between committee and they just want to talk about delegate strategies. They're not interested in who I am as a person or who their other committee mates are as people as well. And it sounds like this is something about you. I don't want to say master, but it's definitely something that you do really, really well. And it's like getting to know these people and asking questions or just exploring who they are as people outside of Model UN. It's almost like your strength is trying to get to know people outside of the context of what Model UN is.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've had working lunches, and I don't like working lunches because they're basically lunch periods where you're just merging, and that's not fun because at that one point you're all so stressed. The chair's giving you a deadline of when to submit and whatnot. I don't like them, but even then, you gotta make it a little lighter. I know I cracked a few Cleveland Browns jokes with a few kids from Ohio I was working with. They weren't particularly happy about that joke that I made because I was just saying the football team is crap, but I saw them at HNMON and they were in my committee, and they said, they were like, listen man, the only condition we're going to work with you is that if you retract that stupid joke you made. And they said well, they remembered, and it was still pretty funny. So those things matter in my opinion. It's small things, but you remember them.
No, I really love that because you're really right. There's so many times where like you're going through the motions of literally going through the motions and just voting. But I remember, again, as the class of 2015, looking back, I don't really remember all of that little minutia, but I do remember the small little conversations I had that were unique and stood out in my mind. And just the fact that a simple joke, right? A simple joke of just trying to reach out, and even if it's make fun of or tease or just joke with another university or another person, that can make an impact on people and they'll remember it moving forward. And I absolutely love that. And I love this concept that we're talking about right now, which is you coined it as block building from like a GA standpoint, delegate, to block building in the actual Model UN community, almost like a meta Model United Nations concept.
In a way, yes.
And it's building these relationships. Like how? Yeah, tell me more about that. Tell me more about it, please.
Well, I think that you gotta want to make that relationship, in my opinion. And it's difficult because we're all we all have our own different lives. We're all in class. We all have homework to get done. If we're competing, we have stuff to read over, take notes off and whatnot. So I think that just taking the relationship and just not centering a relationship around Model UN is pretty cool. And in this day and age, I think Facebook really made it possible because you see
Okay.
someone. Yeah, I think definitely that made it possible. You see someone post something about whatever it could be about and I'll give a personal example. One of my friends posted about the Greek the Syriza winning, and he and I had a long comment thread about that. And then he messaged me, and we talked more and more and more, and it just went off from there. And those sorts of things, in Facebook, I think that too many times we just roll by something, maybe you just drop a like, but you want to comment on it, you don't. You drop that comment, you say something, people start thinking about you in a different light, and that I think that thanks to social media, I can definitely say without social media, I wouldn't be able to make the connections, the friendships that I've been able to make. So I think that maybe adding people outside of committee, just talking to them a little bit, hearing what they're interested in is got to be a two-way street. Can't be just like me right now, just talking, and like from other people. But once you do that, I think people start remembering you, and remembering those small things is what carries a relationship, as I said, from just a block building of, say, Germany, Italy, whatever, together in a GA, to like you, me, Aaron, Atif, and all that sort of stuff that I've worked so hard to make.
Yeah, and
Mm-hmm.
I think one of the things that you're touching on, that I really want to highlight, is just that these relationships take patience and time, but more than just the time it takes to put into these relationships is that they do have lasting benefits outside of just a 4-day conference, because
Mm-hmm.
these are people, and I can say this knowing you, where you'll meet certain delegates or certain individuals on the circuit, and even though you don't realize it at the time when you've met them, uh,
Mm-hmm.
a year goes by or 2 years go by, you see them on the circuit again, or maybe you'll see them in one of the major cities that a lot of MUN people go to, like DC or
Exactly.
New York.
Yeah.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that's fantastic. That it's not necessarily saying you have to make a connection with each individual person, but
Oh, that's
that
not possible. Yeah.
no, because there's too
Yeah.
many people. But
Yeah.
but
Exactly.
but you can make a difference in a few people's lives at a
Mm-hmm.
time, or at least you can make a few relationships at every single conference that then have the ability to flourish later
Mm-hmm.
on, if under the right circumstances.
Oh yeah, yeah, absolutely. I a couple of months ago, I went to a Capitals game with a couple of kids from American University, and
Yeah,
I
yeah.
yeah, and working and with Caroline, Oksana, and Joe, and you know it sort of continued where I met Caroline and our partner Ben in a committee, and we were working, and in an unmod. We just got something done, and I said I dropped an offhand remark about the Packers, and turned out Ben was a big fan of the Packers,
Yeah.
and so in an unmod I said, "Oh, what are you guys doing?" And during lunchtime I said, "Hey, what are you guys doing?" And they
Hmm.
said, "Oh," and then we all went to lunch that the chair had sort of organized. We went to a shop house. We sat there. We ate. I talked with them about what classes they were taking, and they were obviously interested as well. They asked me, "Oh, what are you studying at Rutgers?" "Oh,
Right.
okay." And they said, "I know this person in Jersey and that," and we just sort of kept the connection going. I talked to her, "Hey, you come to Upmonk?" Talked to Ben that, "Hey, did you see that play by whatever?" Posted stuff. The sort of social media stuff going on as well. You know, it's got to be a two-way street, and wanting to just hearing from people, just understanding where they're going at. And if also, I think I also I asked them certain, they asked for everyone around. We always ask, "Hey, Aaron, how did you do that committee and everything?
Right.
What was it like?" And sort of just having sort of information superhighway going along, which is pretty cool in my opinion. Not
Hmm.
just try to do that all the time. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and you develop this relationship, you're saying, with American University. One of the individuals, that I know personally, Caroline
Mm-hmm.
Rose.
Mm-hmm.
Um, uh, uh, and I want to know a little bit more about this. What sort of did you take on any sort of role with American University, whether it's just a friend with some of the individuals on that team, But did you have any impact on them after just that committee?
Oh yeah, I mean, I think that I definitely kept in touch with Ben and Caroline during my time. I talked with Caroline about Model UN stuff, with Ben about Packers and Model UN stuff. And
Right.
as time came along, Caroline introduced me, Ben introduced me to more of their delegates, and
Mhm.
sort of got a connection going. And I went with their delegates. He spoke a little bit to a couple of them. And when I was in DC, and whenever I go to DC, I let them know that, hey, I'm coming.
Mhm.
We sort of met up in Ben's Chili Bowl one time. Then the Capitals game and all that stuff.
Yeah.
It's sort of like taking the initiative on saying something, of wanting to do something. He sort of made a group chat with the four of them, and with like all of them, and four of them said, "Oh yeah, we would love to go." And then we continued the conversation. So yeah, I kept the sort of relationship going. I always say, hey, if you guys need anything, always ask me. They asked a smaller couple of things, and I asked them in turn for help as well and stuff. So it's sort of we sort of got like sort of like a what word should I use over here? Sort of like it's like a Google Doc of Model UN, if I can put it that way, between the two of us, between the two schools, if I can put it
Yeah.
that way.
Okay.
So it's I like their school. They're really nice, and I think they're fantastic delegates. They have the idea of what to do outside of committee and inside of committee. So I really like them, and I try to do that with more and more people. And specifically DC, New York, it's really fantastic to just meet with people and just chill outside of committee and just not talk about the paper or like the directive
Yeah.
or whatever you're doing in crisis for once, and talk about what's going on with the Supreme Court and all that other stuff.
Yeah, it's almost ironic because Model UN as an educational tool was designed to help university students network. And
Mm-hmm.
this may be indicative of the time we live in with Model UN in North America, but it seems like, especially in the competitive sphere, that
Mm-hmm.
everyone is trying to get a word in. Everyone is trying to quote unquote win the gavel, uh,
Mm-hmm.
and they don't take these moments to pause and realize that more than just the awards for their school that they're looking to win, or awards they're looking to win for themselves, they're actually working with real people, who have their own unique story behind them,
Mm-hmm.
and with something to offer. And I think among the circuit today, and I say this from a personal perspective, right?
Mm-hmm.
I would sometimes forget that, and I would just be concerned with going for the award.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's fascinating that you highlight this. That it sounds like almost you loved Model UN and the competition, but equally, if not more so, you love these relationships that you got to develop outside of a Model UN conference.
Yeah, I think that the award centric stuff that you bring up is really important, because
Yeah.
I think that this isn't a sacrifice from wanting to win. As you know, it's sort
Okay.
of I strongly believe so. If someone as a delegate who's done research, who knows what's going on, who's going to be serious in committee, um, they're there to do well. It's sort of it's sort of unspoken, but we all know that, hey, this person's knows their stuff. They know what they're up to. They definitely
Yeah.
want to do well. So it's sort of no one talks about it, and we all know that we want to do well. So I think that I obviously had that. After my first conference, I was super competitive. I always wanted to go win, blah blah blah, and all the that jazz. But um, I think at one point that you can still use it and still focus your energy on getting to know someone, and still you know um, get still win your awards. And there are times where we all think that we have been we have faced some injustice about awards and
Yeah.
all that other jazz. But I think that sometimes you don't have to take it personally, in my opinion. And as I grew along, I went to more conferences, I sort of understood them more and more. That, hey, you know what, maybe I'm taking it a little bit too seriously. How about I let it go and work on the next conference, on to the next one.
Right.
So working on that, I think, is really important. I think that once you attempt to know someone better, you can also work with them better. When you know someone, then more than just their school, or where they're from or whatnot, you can propose a crisis plan with them, and they would give it, and I personally have, I've seen people consider it more than they would have, actually considered it. They would consider signing your directive and, passing it along and, exchanging votes and all that sort of stuff. I think the
Right.
relationship goes to another level at that point. So I think that, when you're too focused, that also, on just wanting to win, people sort
Right.
of start taking you a little bit the wrong way. But once you sort of balance it out, as you know, life is all about balance,
Okay.
and you
Sure.
put that all in. I believe so. I believe
Yeah.
so, in
Yeah.
my opinion. But I think that it makes you better as a delegate. Definitely does, and I personally tried doing it. So I would tell everyone to take it as something that isn't a setback and puts you behind on the awards pile. I can guarantee you it doesn't. Probably actually helps you instead.
Yeah, no, this is amazing. I love this because it's the idea that investing in relationships can have long-term payouts, not just in the competitive sense in the short
Mm,
term for a conference, but also in the long term. And I think this meta research this meta research concept that I absolutely love, and I didn't even realize or put into words until you were describing it. But it's
mm,
something that I remember being a part of the University of Florida's team,
mm,
along with other well-known delegates. It's a very important part of Model UN, and it's this idea to uh, understand and I'm going to say research who
mm,
is going to be in your committee and build relationships to also help your other delegates to know who they are going to be in committee with. And it's
mm,
understanding the people in Model UN, whether they're extremely competitive or well-known, talented delegates on the circuit, or even if they're just a friend that you met
mm,
from a few conferences ago. But having this understanding of a human network behind the delegates is an extremely powerful tool, not just to develop your network, but also to
mm,
help yourself and other delegates on your team and even around the circuit succeed by understanding who they're going to be working with and what the social dynamics of each room is. It's like this meta research concept.
yeah, and in Showman itself, the week before, some people knew that I was going to be in the research analysis wing, and a couple of friends were like, "Oh, hey, yo, my freshman's going to be in the committee. Yo, look after him."
Mhm,
You know,
yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
whatever looking after a delegate means, I just kept it chill with that person, worked with him on mods and all that stuff, and we
Right.
all did well at the end of the day on Sunday. So I think getting to know, and we talked about, we were in Chicago, and we talked about this computer game I played in Chicago, and he said, "Oh, I played Watch Dogs." And I said, "Oh, which level did you like about Watch Dogs?" And we started talking about what part of we thought the plot was going, what part he didn't like, what part I didn't like. You make that connection, and getting to know that person, and just remembering those things. It's sort of is interesting. And whether we agree or disagree with President George W. Bush, one thing he did really, really well was
Okay.
that he would remember the small things someone told him about themselves. He would meet someone, as president of the United States, meets so many people all the time, you can't remember it. But he had this amazing memory, apparently, that he would remember that, oh, you like your pizza this way. Oh, you like your steak medium rare. And
Hmm.
people would be amazed that, wait, how does he remember that stuff? So I think while I guess it's an innate ability that President Bush has, I think that for us, the people at least we're trying to be close with, are just have something more than just a Model UN relationship. Remembering those sorts of things, trying to relate, and that's how friendships start, man. That's what I think. The more time you spend with someone, more time someone likes spending with you, in my opinion. You go closer with them, and why can't it be for Model UN if it is for friends, in campus? That's how I take it.
Yeah, I like that.
Mm-hmm.
I like that a lot. I also like
Mm-hmm.
how you pretended to know Bush for a minute there. Uh, and I love
That's a
that. I
good
love it.
one.
I don't know if he knows how you like your steak, how you take it, but I do
medium
like
well.
the fact that you drew that, and I think that's a part of the Model UN ego complex of the fact that you probably represented somebody in Bush's cabinet at some point, so it almost feels like you have a relationship with these important political people around the world. And I mean that sincerely, because you embody these characters and these positions, like role playing or whatever you want to call it, for a few days, and it kind of seems like you know these people on a personal level, which is fascinating to me.
I like my steak medium well, just so you know. But
I'm gonna try and remember that the next time I see you, because I would love to be like, hey waiter, get this man a medium rare steak, because he likes it that way, just like Bush likes it.
But no, I just think that when people sort of like are too focused on wanting to win, and all of us who are serious in committee, who are speaking resolutions, we all want to win. It's sort of unspoken, as I said, but we all know that we all want to do well in committee. We all want to win something and rep our school, rep ourselves. But it's not like it's one without the other. It's not like, oh, you're giving up something to get something in return. No, I disagree with that. I think that you can get to know people just as well. You just don't just do the simple things right. Don't goof off in committee. Obviously, don't try to distract the delegates when they're speaking or trying to listen to you go to this school and blah blah blah. Talk about that in unmod. Talk about that before the committee starts. When there's a gap in committee, be serious, be sincere, no BSing with people. Being honest, being forthright. I think being forthright is really, really important. Too many times where just delaying stuff, we're not trying to do stuff, and people get upset with that sort of stuff. I think that that sort of the common sense stuff is what makes it something we ought to do more. And I think that wanting to win, is obviously speaking well, writing well, working well with people out of committee. I personally always think that's the holy trinity of doing well in committee.
Highlight it again. The holy trinity. Say that again.
The holy trinity for me is speaking well. Obviously, that's obvious. Right. Writing well and working well with people.
Okay.
What else? I really I think these are the three biggest things that one person should be doing to do well in committee. Diplomacy doesn't just stop with writing a fantastic directive and giving a fantastic speech on it. It also works with if someone proposes a compromise that, oh hey Aaron, I really like your idea of moving to this area. How about we add this specific thing to it to make it better? Someone diplomatic would say, yeah, of course. What do you have in mind? Let's work with it. And more people come, and then you give people that, hey, listen, this is what we worked upon. It's really good. If you guys want to do something on it, sure, let us know, and vote on it. So again, that thing, I think, in my opinion, would be so much easier if you knew the person a little bit more, what they like to do, and all that stuff. And again, I think it helps you as a delegate in committee. You can sort of, I wouldn't say kind of an underhand deal, but you can work with them on certain things that, hey, when this directive, blah blah blah. You can be a little secretive. You can tell them little bit of stuff. It takes a little bit of pressure off of you too, as a delegate, because it's conferences, committees, high pressure, high stress time. So I think that all of this relates in to the fact that none of this really affects your Model UN aspirations in a negative manner. It can actually help you do better. And again, the holy trinity of speaking, writing, diplomacy is what I always try to focus on. And I got much better as the years went on. But as more people follow up with that sort of stuff, I think it'll only make them better delegates.
I love this. I love this fact that this concept of you can make a cake and you can eat it too. Because I think a lot of people get in the Model UN community today, to get meta for a second, to talk about the entire community, is there is this idea that some people are in the camp that competition is a bad thing, and other people are in a camp that competition is the only thing. And I love what you were talking about with how you described your holy trinity, and investing in relationships, is that these two things, competition and building friendships and learning, these things don't have to be mutually exclusive.
Exactly.
They can all be interrelated, and you can have all of them as long as you're putting forth the effort. And it's this idea that I want you to highlight again is the importance of investing in these relationships, because a lot of people see Model UN with these short-term games or short-term gains with awards or with people voting for a paper, but it's just like you said, showing an interest in someone, asking them how they're doing outside of the context of the Model UN activity you're doing, getting to know them on a human level, getting to know the delegate on a human level, and then focusing on building this relationship. Because in Model UN today, at least in the North American circuit, the better you get at Model UN, and I shouldn't say the better, but the more conferences you attend, your reputation on the circuit will precede you. And you were one of the individuals, and there's a lot of them on the circuit today, but you are one that I know personally whose reputation precedes him in a very positive way. And I mean that because it's great. I think a lot of people could learn from you and from the example you've set, not just through your competitive awards, but through the friendships that you've made along the way. And what I want to ask you right now is I know I've thrown a lot of stuff out at you, but what else can you tell us about just developing this relationship? You touched on so many things, but how can we have this mix of competitive spirit, wanting to win, but also looking to understand people and build relationships, build community?
I think, the biggest thing that we should always think about is fairness when it comes to working with someone. And by fairness, what I mean is speaking that, whether you're working a crisis or a General Assembly committee, by fairness, I would think would just think of it in not in a Model UN sense. Just think of it in a common sense way. What you're proposing, what you're proposing to do with a paper or a directive, fly in the real world when it comes to working with someone. Say, I offer to write a directive with you, and I offer you the terms that, hey, let's do this, and let's merge this. But guess what? I'm going to be the primary person. You're not. It's all my credit. Just think about it from a sort of real life perspective, or from a diplomatic perspective. How would, if John Kerry did that, in a very, power delegate way, unlike someone else from another country, how would they feel? They would feel wronged. They would feel upset. They would think twice about working with you. So I think the biggest part that I always try to do is, be fair. And this is where I think that people are scared to think that, oh, if I'm fair and if I don't have all the spotlight, is the chair of crisis director noticing what I'm doing? Am I still the top dog in committee? I think that, once you're the diplomatic person, and of course, once you're the person who's in charge of it, you have to be firm to some degree. You just can't let someone walk over you and just, if they don't want to put you on the paper, that's messed up. Well, you got to stand up for yourself at that point and say, well, I sort of started this thing, so let's go back. Let's make this an equitable and fair partnership. I think that, we all know we're there to win, as we sort of said it. We all want to do well, and we should all respect that with each other and treat another delegate as you would treat yourself in a whatever job interview or whatever you're trying to do.
Sure.
So that's what I always try to do. In Unmod, whenever I wrote a directive and people are just shouting, I said, hey guys, let's just relax. Let's just read one by one what we have. And it sounds very like Model UNE that
it is. We are talking about Model UN, so it's good.
Yeah. So people might think, oh, look at how much of a delegate. But let's just be honest. There are some things that make common sense, which is let's everyone take a deep breath. Let's all listen to what everyone's saying. Again, listen, and let's merge that way. And again, it's I think that people are sometimes too hasty. That, oh, Aaron, you wrote up something. Oh, I wrote up something. Oh, our things completely go against us. But you know what, Aaron? You and I are the power delegates in the room. Let's merge it, and let's just merge it because we can, and it's going to make us look better. No, I think I think that, that's when people start disliking other people's attitude towards Model UN.
Mm.
And I think a lot of people talk about that nowadays too in the circuit. I listen to some people talking about it. And, I've faced that a little bit in Chicago as well, when there were a couple of delegates who just wanted to take my directive out of my hand and merge it out of stuff. That's not going to fly.
Yeah.
Let's all listen to what's going on. Let's see who's similar. If you disagree with me, absolutely, that's what Model UN's all about. We'll have a debate about it, but let's not try to take someone's directive, hide it, trash it, put in whatever underneath my folder and not ever sign it. That sort of stuff is just sort of unsportsmanlike, and again, my theory is that if the way I'm treating this person, would I like to be treated like that from that person? And at the same time, that's how you cultivate a relationship. The person should remember that, what, in committee, this person wasn't a douche. He was firm, but he or she was fair about what was going on. And people get ruffled about a lot of stuff, but you can't help it. You can't make everyone happy. And I think that, I forget who wrote the book, Justice is Fairness or whatnot, but, just fairness when it comes to whatever you're doing, Model UN will make you likable, make you a better delegate, and should get you awards, and, just make you a better person in general. That's what I have to say.
I love that. Because I think it embodies not just the spirit of what best delegate is, but also what it means to be a good person is thinking about the other person, how they would feel in a certain situation, and trying to do something that is going to create a relationship where you win and the other person wins. And this idea that you can be a competitive individual, but also make really good friends, and the importance of striking that balance while doing an activity that is competitive, like Model UN, is possible and is also very rewarding. And we could talk about this all day, but unfortunately we're running a bit short on time from my end. But I love everything you're throwing out right now. I'm picking up what you're putting down. Could you take a minute? Is there anything in particular that you would like to highlight or leave our listeners with right now, to consider moving forward in their Model UN journeys?
What I would say is that I think we're going into, at least in North American circuit, and a lot of stuff where we're getting a little too invested in trying to win and only trying to win. While again, it's, as I said, I don't know how many times I've said it, all of us who do research, speak well, write well, and work well, we're there to, get something out of it. And, whether it be an honorable mention, an outstanding, a best delegate, whatever it is, we want that recognition. But again, I just want people to just think that, your relationship with me out of committee or in committee as a human being isn't going to hurt you. I personally think, again, at the end of the day, it's your ability as a delegate that will always trump over almost anything else that you're trying to do that will help you win an award, in my opinion, or at least it should be. So I think that, just take a second to just know someone who's around you. They're from Michigan State. Oh, you have a friend there, your cousin went there, just say it. If there's something or something, just say it. Just take there are sometimes, where we're in the trepidation that, oh, that person really likes listening to Zed. Oh, I like listening to Zed. Oh, bro, hey, tell him that you like it. I'll tell her that, you like listening to whatever, Zed Avicii or whatever. And, too many times we're in apathy. We're like, nah, I'll fine. I'll be okay. I don't have to say it. It doesn't benefit me. No, I think that, I think we should. I think we should take the second to just listen. And, and let's be honest, we all know when in committee mode that we're not human beings. I'm not the most, in committee mode, I'm very serious. I'm not folksy jokes as I'm outside. People will understand and respect that. So just try and, get to know other people. Just sort of make this a little, it's becoming a little too, I think, only team centric, and knowing your team and everything is extremely important, but getting to know your community and actually trying to be friends and everything, being authentic, listening and remembering is, can go a long way. That's what I can say. Just one of many things that I'd like to say, but
Yeah,
time-wise. So,
yeah. And I want to follow up with one of probably maybe my last question. We'll see. But is this advice of building relationships not just within your team but between other teams on the Model UN circuit? Is this something that can be applied for just experienced delegates? Is this something for newer delegates, whether they're in high school or university? What do you think?
I think it works the best if you plan on staying in the long term, in my opinion.
Okay.
Why I say that is because you go up against so many people who are seniors, juniors, sophomores, freshmen, whatever. I think that I've made a lot of friends who are sophomores who graduated, people when I was freshman, who are graduating now. You get to meet some seniors. I think the connection building works. I personally think if you plan to stay on, if you want to commit, or if you can commit to some degree for 2 or 3 years, that gives you the biggest chance of meeting people over and over again. It also gives you the chance of meeting over and over again who you don't like, but we have all had that situation. But once you meet more people you like, it makes it so much more pleasant and so much more easier to keep those relationships. And hey, it's like hey, you going to HNMAN? Oh, I'm in Dissect. Oh, anyone from your delegation in Dissect? Guess what? In openings they say, oh, hey, Kevin, Atif's in Dissect as well. You speak a little bit, and that sort of thing. I think gets better as you stay along. I definitely believe so, and I think that's what I would like to see more people, stay along more and more in Model UN and build those relationships, because there are a lot of us who are one and done in a way. You do it, you don't like it, which is completely fine. Not everyone that I know is stuck with Model UN. Not everyone's it's an academic interest for some of us. But I think those of us who are planning to stay, I think it's sort of a responsibility. Those of us who have stayed is just keep the relationship, introduce yourself to other people, just grow your, again, the block building outside of, not just in committee, block building in other places as well. So I think it's really important. I would really hope people to do more and more these days.
Atif, thank you so much for
Thank you,
being
Aaron.
a part
Thank you very
of this
much.
munCast. This has been really insightful, and I love I love a lot of what you had to say, and I think a lot of people are going to be able to take a lot out of this. Not just for the graduating class of 2016, but for other delegates who are looking to succeed both competitively as well as this concept that we've been talking a lot about, this community building aspect. So again, thank you so much for all of your insights. It's been an absolute pleasure having you, man.
Thank you, Aaron.
Yeah, dude. Anyway, dude, I will talk to you very soon. This is munCast signing off.